Hi, I'm Matt, here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I are taking a look at a new release, Space Jam: A New Legacy. It is currently streaming on HBO Max, and you can go watch it in your local cinema. It stars LeBron James, Don Cheadle, Cedric Joe, and Sonequa Martin Green. It is directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who is also known for Girls Trip, Undercover Brother, Barbershop The Next Cut, and the Best Man film series. But before we get too far into this review, remember, if you like this sort of thing, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you always want to see more, and ring the bell icon if you want to be notified of all of our latest uploads.
In Space Jam 2, LeBron James and his son are sucked into Warner Brothers media servers. There, LeBron James has to win a game of basketball to save his son and the Looney Tunes characters. Now, this movie had a $150 million budget. It has received poor reviews from critics, but above average scores from audiences so far. Randall, what did you think about this sequel to Space Jam?
A couple of things crossed my mind. Number one, it's a better film than the original Space Jam.
What's going on here?
As nostalgic as the original is, this one is actually like a better movie. Even if the plot's paper thin, I found it pretty entertaining, honestly. That's not to say it's great or good, just, man, there's something here for just about everyone to laugh at. And maybe that's its biggest failing. It's kind of like, who's the audience for this? Because if you're nostalgic for the original, this is not your film. And if you're looking for something specifically basketball, this is not your film. Like, just trying to please everybody. I found myself enjoying it in like a completely guilty pleasure type of way.
I think this movie was a miss for me, but you're kind of talking about like the audience. I think that's a good point. What is the intended audience? I agree. I don't know that there is an intended audience.
I don't know.
Kind of like what they like, Space Jam, I think when it came out at like a good time for us. So I think we were the intended audience when the original Space Jam came out. So yeah, I think we definitely do have nostalgia. But for me, a whole lot of this movie didn't really work. I mean, LeBron James, they even make jokes that basketball stars or athletes don't make very good actors in this on screen. I thought a lot of LeBron James, like actual LeBron James, acting in this movie was not all that great at all.
But his voice acting was okay.
His voice acting was okay, and that was one of my notes too. I'm like, you know what? When we get animated LeBron James and we just hear his voice, that's probably the best LeBron James that we have in this film. That was one of my notes for that. But yeah, for me, I'll admit, I'm not a huge LeBron James fan, and the first 10 minutes of this movie is just like going over LeBron James' like life and his playing career and how LeBron James is the greatest thing ever. And then the whole rest of the movie is like, hey, take a look at all of Warner Brothers properties. It's almost as if Warner Brothers was trying to like sell itself, or just basically like, hey, look at all the stuff that you can watch on HBO Max.
Yes, look at all of this Warner Brothers stuff. Look at it all in its glory. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I want to go back to one thing you said. You're talking about all of the clips and the beginning of this and everything, which is kind of supposed to be a little bit nostalgic to the original because it was a whole bunch of clips of Michael Jordan. And in both instances, whether you're watching the original Space Jam or you're watching this one, I just thought it was nice to see a competitive Detroit Pistons basketball team.
Yes, I
agree. It's like, oh, look at that. That's when they were playing in the playoffs back in 2004. So yeah, that was fun. But yes, you're 100% correct. And this is, I think, one of the biggest things that the critics keep saying about this film is, while this is just an IP-based like extravaganza, and I'm like, yeah, but look at Ready Player One. At least it knows what it is. It's not pretending to not be that. It's like, yep, look at all of our stuff. And I can say that it's like a little tired, but it's funny. And I'm okay with that.
See, me, I don't know that I would say it was funny. I'm trying to think what I actually laughed at. I mean, it's one of those like hit or miss things. Like one thing is like, yeah, it's looking at all the properties, but I think one of the parts I chuckled at is when they were in like Mad Max Fury Road, which is kind of weird. It makes like no sense though, really, because it's like it goes back to the thing is, who's this audience for? I guess that's a tidbit for like dads and stuff that are watch it, because really dads are the only ones that should have already watched that movie.
You know, the thing about this though is that whole sequence where like this is kind of spoilerish, but where they go and collect the team from the Warnerverse is my favorite in the entire film. I'm just like I went back and rewatched that section because I wanted to show it to my wife.
Oh, I totally agree. That was my favorite part too, when they're going in the different worlds and stuff. And I like too that it wasn't just like movies and cartoons. They also dove into like DC property comic books and stuff with some of that too. So yeah, I would agree with you. Like that segment of the movie was my favorite part of the entire movie.
Yes, now one of the things though that is kind of a letdown, and it's weird that it's such a letdown, in my opinion, is you get to the end and there's the actual basketball game. Like, well, number one, it's far from basketball, but to be fair, Looney Tunes. At the same time, it's like you want that to be the center of attention. And it's not because this film actually has like a it's okay to be yourself moral to the story, whereas the original was just like, hey, we're just playing a basketball game.
Yeah, that it goes on back to that same argument again. Who is this movie for? I mean, are we trying to hit at the preteens and teens kind of thing with this age? Or, like you said, is it a little bit for everybody, but just a little bit too much for everyone that it doesn't have a real great identity to itself?
It is weird, and like I said at the very beginning, I'm not sure who the intended audience for this is, because it doesn't pay enough reverence to the original for it to be for the people who are fans of the original Space Jam. It kind of has some hints and nods here with the little original Goon Squad, and so the Michael Jordan thing was actually admittedly quite funny, but like it doesn't really reference it too much. It goes on and does its own thing. It's not for basketball fans. I'd say the biggest audience, which is a weird audience for it, is just people who are big fans of Warner Brothers. There's Easter eggs everywhere. There's stuff everywhere, like oh that character and that character and that character. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think if you do like the Warner Brothers property stuff, that you are gonna get. Like I said, my favorite part is the Mad Max part, and everyone knows I like Mad Max, so yeah, that is a part that chuckled me. But it was kind of interesting. I watched this in the theater, and I think like for younger kids, I don't know that this movie really kept their attention. I don't know, I was noticing in the theater, and these kids were always walking around. But maybe me, not having kids, maybe that's normal for kids. Maybe young kids are always walking around and stuff in the movie. But I didn't hear a whole lot of chuckles from the kids. I actually heard more chuckles from the kids when we saw previews for other movies leading up to the movie than we did during the actual movie. And the adults, I heard like one or two chuckles kind of thing.
For me, I think that this will probably be a guilty pleasure film. With the full knowledge that it's not a good film, I can sit back and just like easy watch it. Because honestly, the original Space Jam is a bit of a guilty pleasure. It's not good. Gosh, I've watched it recently because my daughter's become of an age where she's like can kind of watch that one, and it's a bad movie. But it's still fun to watch Michael Jordan play basketball, especially in his Michael Jordan prime. But that's actual basketball, I guess, kind of, quote unquote. This Space Jam: A New Legacy doesn't hit those same heights, in my opinion, even though I think it's a better movie with a better plot, even if it's thin, bare plot. One thing that I can't wait for, because the internet is awesome, is it's simultaneously awesome and awful. Let me be clear. But man, I cannot wait for Dom and the family memes to show up. The fact that LeBron James's son in this movie is named Dom, and there's a heavy overtone of "there's nothing more important than family." I can't wait for the memes. The memes should be pretty good in a couple of days.
Internet, if you don't jump on those memes, shame on you, because this is prime activity. Bring those memes on or whatever. Yeah, I could definitely see this movie being kind of like a guilty pleasure for some people. Like you said, like the other Space Jam is. I agree with you. I don't think the original Space Jam movie is that good of a movie, and I don't think this is that good of a movie either. So, if you like it, good for you, kind of thing.
But of course, we always are interested to know what you guys think. Have you seen Space Jam: A New Legacy? Do you like it? Maybe it's a guilty pleasure for you, or is it just a whole bunch of schlock? Let us know in the comments below. if you're interested in this sort of thing, we have other new movie reviews. We have flashback movie reviews. We have longer discussions. And we have TV show reviews.
We also have a Facebook page. Head over there, check out some of our posts there. We also post a day before our new reviews come out to let you know what the next topic is going to be. Our reviews come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day, everyone.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.